This might seem crazy, but this might finally be the year Arsenal breaks the jinx. Mikel Arteta's Arsenal framework is done now. It's been a steady progression in the past 2 seasons, from returning to Europe's Premier Club competition to reaching the quarter-finals in 2024, the semi-finals in 2025, and now there's every reason to believe that in May 2026, Arsenal could very well become UEFA Champions League winners for the first time in the club's history. So how's this possible then? To start with, they've got a pretty straightforward draw. Athletic Club, Olympiacos, Atletico Madrid, Slavia Prague, Bayern Munich, Club Brugge, Inter Milan and Kairat Almaty. The standout matches immediately after the draw would be the headline ones against Bayern, Atleti and Inter Milan. And with respect to the other teams in Arsenal's path, you'd expect Arsenal to be clear favourites in every other fixture. I mean, true, the Champions League does have its occasional twists, but even with that, the group stage is set up nicely for Arsenal to advance. From that point on, it's a case of Arteta's men having the nerve to play cup football, knowing how to win and when not to lose. That's something you can't coach. It's some ring you experience. It's something in the last 2 years Arsenal has seen firsthand. It's crazy thinking about it. Just 3 years ago, Arsenal were still playing in the Europa League. In fact, at the time, they hadn't qualified for the Champions League since the 2016/17 season. But after finishing second in the 2022/23 campaign, they were back in the Champions League the following season. And despite getting knocked out by Bayern Munich in the quarter-finals, Arteta decided to focus on the positives.
That's experiences and they have done really well. You know, there are moments in games that are very defining, especially in the Champions League, and today we have seen a very clear example of that.
Despite the defeat, Arteta's takeaway was understanding his players, understanding the moments in games that decided matches for his team. Bayern were the favourites, but even Thomas Tuchel, the then Bayern Munich manager, praised Arteta's team.
They are one of the very best. They have so many points in the last 2.5 years in Premier League. Now they have a little bit of a difficult spell with the last 3 matches. But overall, you watch their games, they're so fluid. You learn when you watch them, you have joy when you watch them, they get points from it, so it's the full package.
He called them the full package, a unit. But it was more. In that statement, there was a big takeaway for Mikel Arteta and his team to understand, and that's something they worked on last season. Thomas Tuchel talked about Arsenal being a team that brings joy to the fans who watch them. Unfortunately, this counts for nothing in the Champions League. It's not the best team that wins it, it's the team that knows how to manage games, manage moments, and that's what we saw Mikel Arteta do at the same stage last season. The quarter-finals versus Real Madrid, arguably on the same par with the match versus Bayern Munich in 2024. Real Madrid were the favourites. But in that first leg at the Emirates, the 3-0 win sent shockwaves around Europe. Still, despite the clear advantage, Real Madrid tried to play the psychological test with Arsenal. That's when the talk about the Bernabeu's atmosphere came up. Talk about how long 90 minutes is at the Bernabeu and how Real Madrid was going to pull off a comeback. The point here is the Arsenal team of old would have crumbled, but not this one. They went to the Bernabeu and put up a result, a 2-1 win, 5-1 on aggregate against the reigning champions. But it wasn't just the win, it was how Arsenal played. It wasn't fluid football. They didn't overcommit or sit back to defend. They managed the game. That's a big improvement in Mikel Arteta's system in recent years, the fact that he understands now how to manage games and get results. It's not always going to be exciting football, it just has to be effective. They were clinical on the break and restricted Real Madrid to just 1 shot on target after 60 minutes.
We were in Paris for the second leg in that semi-final and they pushed PSG for the first 20 minutes like I've rarely seen a team playing at the Parc des Princes where really PSG could not get out of that.
Job done. They eventually got knocked out in the semi-finals to eventual winners PSG. But even with that, Arteta took notes. They forced the PSG team into an uncomfortable position. Arteta claims his Arsenal team controlled the game for 160 minutes, a relatively fair assessment, but it also taught him a lesson. The same way he learnt that they don't always need to play beautiful football to win is the same way he learnt that control without effectiveness is useless in the Champions League. PSG were more clinical and advanced, and that's why this season it's bound to be different. He's taken the notes from the last 2 seasons and revamped the team. It doesn't get any bigger than the headline number 9 signing this summer. Viktor Gyökeres. Arteta knows what he's got.
Well, I think his goals, his threat, I think he pins both centre-backs. He's a player that the moment you leave him with the space 1 against 1, he's going to destroy you. So
A punisher. That's what he's in the team to do. A big problem with Arsenal last season was how they sometimes lacked that cutting edge, that ability to kill off teams with goals. With Gyökeres, we're talking about a striker who bagged 6 goals in the Champions League last season. It sounds like a respectable tally at best, but when you think of what he could potentially become for Arsenal in the Champions League this season, it's scary. It's an Arsenal that produced the 3rd most assists as a team in the competition last season, with 22. The point is, if they're creating goal-scoring chances and have an elite centre-forward who can convert, it makes them an even bigger threat than they were last season. But it's not just Gyökeres. You look at the rest of the team now, and it seems like Arsenal is well equipped to go far in the competition, possibly all the way. In David Raya, they've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Very good with his feet and can make world-class saves. Defence is where it's at for Arsenal. It's where it always has been.
Can you name me a better defence, man for man, in world football? Other than that, like PSG maybe, was the strength of their fullbacks. Like Lewis Skelly, Timber, who I think is exceptional. Calafiori, who's having a great season so far.
Yeah. Mascara. Yeah, it's just
Cappy, Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White.
Those are 4 monstrous centre halves that they've got in, and they're all.
It might seem like a long shot, but then again, is it really? Because the truth is, Arsenal might just have the best defence in Europe's top 5 leagues. As a duo, it's hard to look past William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. What Arteta has done with his fullbacks in Ricardo Calafiori and Jurrien Timber is insane. He's turned them into active goal threats, both with the most contributions from defenders in Europe's top 5 leagues as of recording this, while at the same time still having them as solid defensively. Wingers will struggle to get past these two. Then you look at the options he can bring in to rotate in the positions. We all know how good Ben White was before his injury problems. When he's up to speed, he's an added layer to defence. Add this to the new additions. Piero Hincapié, a left-sided centre-half who can also play as a left-back. Similar to Calafiori when he plays left-back in his the ability to get up the pitch and get quality balls into the box or be an active threat at the back post. When he does play as a centre-back, his recovery pace and desire to win balls make him a beast. In Christian Mosquera, they've added potential, one of the best young centre-backs in La Liga last season. 6 solid defenders. And somehow, the midfield has gotten even better. It's hard to say this, considering they let both Thomas Partey and Jorginho leave, each with different attributes that they bring to the team. But what they've added to replace these two is a problem solver.
I think Arsenal in midfield, I think Declan Rice is a brilliant player, I think Partey's a very good player. I don't think they've got anybody that can control a football match properly in the top games. I think they really struggled on that. I think Jorginho's the best of them.
The truth is, even with the likes of Declan Rice, even when they had Thomas Partey, even when Odegaard played as the number 8, Arsenal still lacked a proper 6. A player who could control the midfield and dictate how the team plays. They've got that now with Martin Zubimendi. Relating this down to the Champions League and the level of competition they'll be facing puts them in a much better position. Think of teams like Barcelona, PSG, and Inter Milan. They've all got players who can control their midfield. Barcelona have players like Pedri, PSG have Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz, Inter Milan have players like Nicolo Barella, and now Arsenal have Martin Zubimendi. For context, Zubimendi was a serious transfer target for the likes of Liverpool and Real Madrid. That's the quality of the player they're getting. Plus, there are different profiles in midfield too. Because it's the Champions League, European competition that is It's a different mix of styles that means Arsenal might have to adapt in-game to situations. The midfield battle will be key. To this end, they've got a tempo-controlling midfielder in Martin Zubimendi. They've got a Declan Rice who is becoming pretty good at crashing into the boxes to score goals as an 8 or playing alongside a 6. His evolution from centre-back to holding midfielder to a box-to-box midfielder often goes under the radar. When they need a more traditional defensive midfielder or extra legs in the team, that's where new signing Christian Norgård comes in. Need goals from midfield? Mikel Merino is always an answer. Fresh off a hat-trick for Spain against Turkey. When he had to play in that false 9 role for Arsenal, he was scoring big goals against big teams. With the names in defence now, Arteta even has the option of fully unleashing Miles Lewis Skelly in midfield. His best qualities are on the ball and how he can drive with it. Then you shift to attack. We've already talked about Gyökeres, but he's just one layer in a dynamic setup. When he's fit, Bukayo Saka will always be key, whether it's creating chances or finishing like the way he did against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, or helping create overloads to allow quick switches to the other flank. Saka's recent injury issues have been a blow to Arsenal. Last season when he was out, they missed a ton of creativity down that flank. To this end, Mikel Arteta signed Noni Madueke in what could be an excellent signing from Chelsea. To start with, Madueke can operate on either flank. In our eyes, he's at his best when he's playing on the right. But what makes him special is how he's not the typical modern-day inside forward who likes to cut inside to the stronger foot and get shots off. Madueke is just as comfortable going on the outside and getting shots with his weaker foot, something Bukayo Saka is equally as comfortable with. The point here is, while Madueke might not be up to Bukayo Saka's level yet, in games such as now, where Saka isn't fit, he's not a bad replacement. Gabriel Martinelli with his speed. Leandro Trossard with his clever footwork and ability to score crucial goals in big moments. Kai Havertz and his technique. Gabriel Jesus when he's fit and gets up to speed. Young talents like Max Downman and Ethan Nwaneri in attack. Arteta's team is stacked in every position. It's the best thing that could have happened to him. Honestly, Arteta doesn't get enough credit for the way he's rebuilt that Arsenal team. He's taken them from their lowest point post Arsene Wenger to finishing second in the Premier League for 3 consecutive seasons. A quarter-final and semi-final appearance in the Champions League in the last 2 seasons. And that's why the 2025 Champions League campaign is bound to be special for Mikel Arteta. Going by this trend, if they can better what they've achieved in the last 2 seasons, it means Arsenal will at least be in the Champions League final this season. Who is to say they can't win it? With the team he's built, Arteta is bound to get his big break in the competition, and it's more likely to be now than it ever is. So what do you guys think? Can Mikel Arteta's Arsenal team really go all the way in European football this season? Or is the Champions League going to be one step too much for the team? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe to Matchday Moments for more videos like this.